origins of Mary Jane Watson is an actress and a major love interest of Peter Parker aka Spider-Man. They have had a long and dramatic on and off again relationship. She's one of the few people who know who he is and still supports him as a close friend and confidant. Mary Jane Watson lived in an abusive household. She was born to Philip and Madeline Watson and was the younger sister of Gail Watson. Mary Jane's mother had initially wanted to move to New York so she can pursue an acting career, but she gave up her dream to let her husband pursue his. Mary Jane's father was a frustrated professor and writer. He would take out his frustration on the family as spouse and child abuse due to him becoming an alcoholic. Her father constantly changed his jobs by moving from one college to another, having to uproot his family and move whenever he changes jobs. This added with the troubles at home. MJ developed the party girl personality to hide the embarrassment at home and to be loved by her peers quicker. One day MJ's father struck his daughter Gail because he became enraged with the cost of Gail's dancing lessons. Madeline had accepted her husband's abuse on her but did not want to see it happening to her daughters. Madeline took her 2 daughters and left Philip while he was about to receive honors during a college awards ceremony. MJ and her sister lived with her mother, moving from relatives to relatives. Her favorite relative is Anna May, who is also the neighbor of Aunt May and Peter Parker in Forest Hills. During this time Mary Jane was 13 years old and Peter was 14 years old. When she first saw Peter, it was when he was sweeping leaves outside his home. She was not interested in him at all because of his nerdy look. Mary Jane moved with her mother and sister to Pittsburgh, where they finally settled with her mother's uncle Frank Brown, whose wife and 3 children had passed away. Character evolution. Mary Jane went to high school there with her sister and she became the typical popular girl. Mary Jane began working on her dream of becoming a famous actress by performing in many school plays including Romeo and Juliet. Her sister, on the other hand, married her high school sweetheart Timothy Burns and she became pregnant at the age of 19. Mary Jane saw the eyes of desperation in Timmy just like her father's and became distant from her sister. Mary Jane began going to parties more often and worked on her acting to distance herself from her sister. During Thanksgiving break, Mary Jane went to stay with her Aunt Anna. While there, her previous opinions about Peter Parker would change on the night of Uncle Ben's death. MJ saw Peter sneaking out of his window in his Spider-Man costume, but she decided to keep it to herself and not tell anyone. Mary Jane's sister became pregnant again and Timmy left her soon after. What made it worst was Madeline became seriously ill and eventually passed away, leaving her 2 daughters on their own. Gail had expected Mary Jane to stay with her and help her take care of the 2 kids, but Mary Jane ran away from Gail and moved to New York with her Aunt Anna. While temporarily staying with her Aunt Anna, MJ found a job waiting tables and dancing at a local restaurant. MJ eventually earned enough money to rent her own studio apartment downtown. Aunt Anna and her friend Aunt May constantly tried to set up Mary Jane and Peter, but MJ would constantly make excuses to get out of the blind date. When Green Goblin murders Gwen deliberately to hurt Spider-Man in the story arc The Death of Gwen Stacy, it is Mary Jane who comforts him. Peter arrived back to his apartment to find Mary Jane waiting for him there. She tried to help him mourn, but Peter would tell her to leave him alone and get out. He was enraged because a girl with her personality wouldn't be upset if her own mother died. Of course, Peter knew nothing about MJ's past. MJ stood at the door hesitating, eventually closing the door and staying with Peter to comfort him. MJ broke up with Harry soon after, whose sanity had become unstable after the death of his father. She told Harry that she was tired of Peter's depression and did not want to be associated with him or anyone he knew. Eventually, as time goes by and Peter slowly recovers, he starts to fall in love with Mary Jane again. During a party, Mary Jane confessed her feelings to Peter, telling him that she loved him, but she did not want a serious relationship. She did not want to be hurt by someone she loved like her family has hurt her. Harry had become the second Green Goblin and set off a bomb which hospitalized MJ. Peter stayed by her side until she was able to fully recover. Peter later had to go on a trip to Europe, in which MJ would see Peter off at the airport. At the airport, a serious relationship would work if Peter kept going to take pictures for the Bugle every time. The two would eventually reconcile, and when Mary Jane was helping Liz Allen pick out a wedding gown for her upcoming marriage with Harry Osborn, MJ began wondering what Peter would think of her in a wedding gown. Peter would soon propose to Mary Jane by giving her a Cracker Jacks box with a real diamond ring inside. However, she tells him that she does not want to be tied down. Peter and MJ remained as close friends, but after all the disappointment he gave her by leaving their dates early to go out as Spider-Man, she began avoiding him. She also became angered that Peter cared more about being Spider-Man than her, and when she graduated from college, she leaves New York for a long time. MJ moved to Florida to help her Aunt Anna settle in there. However, she secretly wanted to get away from Peter. When Mary Jane returns, she began her modeling career and began dating many other actors and famous people. When MJ was at Peter's apartment, the Puma had tracked down Spider-Man. Peter notices danger with his spider sense and pushes MJ out of the apartment and locks the door. MJ could hear the entire battle inside his apartment. Eventually Spider-Man would defeat Puma. Afterwards, MJ confesses to Peter that she cannot handle the danger he puts himself into and tells him that she has always known his secret alter ego Spider-Man. She had in fact known from almost the very beginning, as she had seen him leave to confront Uncle Ben's killer. The Black Cat would arrive at Peter's apartment shortly after, which led to MJ running out of the apartment crying. Black Cat and Spider-Man have become very close during MJ's absence. MJ was about to leave New York again, but decided to confront Peter. She told him her life story, in which Peter would gain the confidence to tell MJ everything about himself. Peter and MJ stayed as friends, hoping to be able to relight the fire they once had for each other. They continued their close relationship as friends, being able to tell secrets to each other. However, they realized that they were hiding from their real feelings. Peter decided to propose to Mary Jane again. However, she declined again and left for Pittsburgh. MJ had to visit her sister, who was sent to prison for stealing a rare manuscript. Eventually MJ would turn in the real culprit, who was her father, Philip. MJ was able to reconcile with her sister and she returned to New York to accept Peter's proposal. Even with the concerns that couple were too young and because of Peter's double life, Peter and Mary Jane decided to get married. Amazing Spider-Man Annual Number 21. The reason MJ became Mary Jane Watson Parker was because she thought that getting rid of her maiden name Watson meant she had to stop partying, so instead she just attached his surname on. Peter was wearing the black costume at this time too, but Mary Jane convinces him to stop using it because she's fearful of Venom. Powers and abilities. She is trained in self-defense by Captain America. Mary Jane carries a gun in her purse, but Peter disagrees with this. Peter made her web shooters for more protection, which is hidden as a charm bracelet, although this hasn't actually been seen in action often. Recently, Mary Jane has been using the Iron Spider armor. Recently, Mary Jane got her hands on a mysterious bracelet that randomly bestows a different power upon her depending on the result of the slots minigame that appears above her head. Should she get a jackpot, she is granted useful powers and abilities such as flight, flame and energy manipulation, and can even attain mastery over swords. Should she miss the mark, then she is granted less useful ones like the ability to become living pudding. It is currently unknown as to how she acquired this device and who its creator is.